parents should be encouraging their daughters to take selfies, not banning them. Given that Jamie Oliver once cheerfully announced that he punishes his children by making them eat chillies, and named a baby River Rocket, it shouldn't come as any surprise that his parenting skills leave somewhat to be desired. But, even with the low expectations I had, I have to admit that I was still pretty shocked to hear his latest genius fatherhood move, claiming that he has banned his 14-year-old daughter from taking and posting selfies. He had a little tantrum about why selfies are so horrid, the upshot of which is that he doesn't like selfies because they look a bit porno. I'd say that anyone who looks at a picture of a child and sees something pornographic, rather than a child working out how she photographs, needs to have a long hard look in the mirror and question why that's happening. But that's just me. Anyway, aside from the fact that it's weird for any adult man to look at a 14-year-old as pornographic, taking selfies is important. Being born in the 90s, I grew up straddling two worlds. My earliest teens were full of unflattering pictures on nasty digital cameras which picked up every single spot and made whoever stood on the ends of the row look fatter than everyone else. My later teens were filled with iPhones, front-facing cameras and yes, selfies. Taking selfies taught me to like my own face. A favorite hobby on a Friday night was to sit with my other mid-teenage friends and take oodles of hyper-flattering photo booth photographs on an iMac, that's what we called them. These photos made me feel beautiful. And when you're growing up, when puberty is ravaging your entire body and you hardly recognize yourself anymore, feeling beautiful is a gift. A rare, important gift. A gift that Jamie Oliver doesn't want his daughter to have. Now I realize that he grew up as a boy, and he was famous when he was super young and people fancied him and that was all lovely. He doesn't know what it's like to be a teenage girl, because he wasn't one. I don't expect fathers to understand what their daughters are going through. I get that they're a pretty scary kind of creature, a seething mass of hormones and anger, pulling away from you and developing an interest in things which make you nervous. Having known teenagers who are riddled with self-loathing and so unhappy with how they look, if any future daughter of mine is happy enough with her face that she wants to take pictures of herself, frankly I'll be over the moon. Vanity is a weird thing to be worried about in your child. They're the person you love most in the entire world, and yet you don't want to encourage them to love themselves too much. How does that work? Slamming on the brakes and taking things away from your children when they do something that you're not entirely comfortable with is not the way to deal with it. Rather than banning stuff, why not try to understand it? If your daughter's vanity upsets you, that might be because she's so busy taking selfies that she won't have a conversation, legitimate, or it might be that you're uncomfortable with a woman liking her own face, not legitimate. Did Jamie ask his daughter why she takes selfies? Did he spare a moment to question whether it makes her feel powerful and in control? Because that's what taking a selfie really is. As women we spend our whole lives being viewed, and being assessed on the basis of that view. If you're a pretty picture, you're treated well. If you take up too much space, your skin isn't a nice clear canvas, or you have the temerity to have an unsymmetrical face, you're viewed with distaste, or ignored entirely. When women take a selfie, they turn the camera around. They choose to be their own focus, and they take control of what the world gets to see. How can that possibly be a bad thing? How long can breast milk be left out for? Dad in number 039's plea for Postman Pat video for son with severe autism goes viral. How should we talk to our children about mental health? If your teenage child had a keen interest in photography, surely you would encourage that? It would be regarded as an impressive and artistic talent. But we like to disparage things that teenage girls do. Whether it's their taste in music or their proclivity to photograph themselves, anything teenage girls do has to be derided. Photography is still photography, whether it's nature or your own face. It's still the same interest and the same skill set. More, Ingrid Goes West Review, a dark comedy for the Instagram generation. More, TK Maxx are in hot water over some sexist baby bibs.